Good morning and welcome to Behind the Screen. I am JM, and this is a show where we talk about things that we love in gaming. Settings, rules, board games, role-playing games, mechanics, planning adventures, ton of great stuff. So, today we're talking about Necessary Evil. We talked about the Savage Worlds Superpowers companion on Tuesday, so it seemed like a natural pairing because sort of the Savage World superhero setting or superpowers companion is came out of Necessary Evil. Necessary Evil was a setting for Savage Worlds that came out, I believe, somewhere in the early 2000s. And it was fairly unique compared to Heroes Unlimited or GURPS Supers, Champions, Mutants, and Masterminds. All of these games, you got to play the hero. That was sort of the default assumption. And Necessary Evil said, well, what if you guys instead played the Suicide Squad? A little different, right? Legally distinct, but that's essentially the core of it. What if you played the villains who were forced to do good things? Now, there will be spoilers for a 20-year-old campaign. So if you don't want to know anything about Necessary Evil 1 or 2, tune out now. Jump to the end where I talk about my Jackals and Black Sword Hat game that I ran Tuesday and Wednesday night, respectively. So, Necessary Evil postulates a world where supers exist, and there is an alien invasion, and the superheroes of the world rise up and are fighting a losing battle against these aliens. But there's a ray of hope. The Foray, another alien race, show up, and they promise to help. They promise technology and food and to help fix Earth after the war. The heroes band together with the Foray and they drive off this initial alien invasion. Yet when the Foray conference, their conclave, where they want all the superheroes to show up so that they can, give them this information to disseminate into the world, the Foray instead kill all the heroes and take over the world. Turns out the first alien invasion was nothing more than a ploy to weaken Earth and get them to let their guard down for the Foray. And that's the start of Necessary Evil. All of the superheroes are gone. You're recruited by this world's Lex Luthor, Doctor Doom, Doctor Destruction to start an Omega Cell. In fact, I have the joy of being able to play in a Necessary Evil campaign with John Doom every Friday night. We're playing through that initial campaign using Suede and run by the amazing Civil Savage. Just a great game. Get to play with Landauer and a couple of other people. It's been a lot of fun. So that's it. That's the premise. You are Necessary Evil. You are villains who basically have banded together under the oversight of Doctor Destruction to throw off the alien invaders. Maybe you're a hero who slipped through the cracks. Maybe you're a villain who's trying to reform. Maybe you just want to be the one to rule over Earth and can't do that while this gigantic, organized alien invasion is going on. And so, Dr. Destruction provides the narrative thread to kind of get you through this initial campaign. It's a plot point campaign. And Savage Worlds plot point campaigns work slightly differently than other campaigns. So, like, you're used to 5th edition or Pathfinder, campaigns or even Call of Cthulhu campaigns, they tend to be fairly linear. You go from one spot to the other and do the things that you have to do at the location and then move on to the next one. Plot point campaigns are a little bit more loose. You can either just play them as a series of episodes, or they're designed with a ton of savage tales to kind of weave in and around the main narrative. Good morning to everyone. I forgot to do that. To Ian and Grom and John and Tink and Padre. Always good to see all of you. And so you get to play as the bad guys. I'm playing a immortal Roman sorcerer who's bonded with a demon beast that he lets out from time to time. And I'm doing this basically because the Foray are cracking down on magic, and I am an arrogant, overconfident immortal who just wants to be left alone to his own plots and devices. We have the Huntsman, played by John Doom, who is probably the most heroic of all of us, although that may not be saying much. He's definitely the most engaged with the attempts of actually striking back at the foray, not just creating a little space for ourselves. So, narrative, Necessary Evil, the first plot point campaign, was great. You fight through the Vasori invasion, you throw off your oppressors, a ton of the background is revealed, there's a lot of twists and turns and surprises. It's also got a really great early modern age of comics feel to it, with a little bit of Silver Age thrown in. There's this cosmic being called the Outsider. What does he want? He raised this island up off the coast of New England called Star City. Why? There's Atlanteans, there's aliens. It's one of the great things about a superhero campaign. A superhero campaign can encapsulate anything you want. If a player wants to be from Atlantis, well, cool, now we have Atlanteans. Player wants to be an alien, cool, we now have aliens, and there's stuff outside the realm of our solar system. So you end up traveling to a lot of cool places, you end up doing a lot of cool things, you discover the real reason behind Dr. Destruction's creation of the Omega. It is far more altruistic than it appears at first. And maybe at the end of it, your villains are no longer villains. Maybe they're heroes. Maybe they want to be better. But in the aftermath, the Doom Guard is formed, which is outlined in the Superpowers Companion, and will be a board game coming from PEG here soon. I'm very excited about that. And the Doom Guard is basically sort of, what if the Justice Society of America from New 52 gets merged with the Suicide Squad? There's heroes and villains working together to deal with existential threats to humanity, but it doesn't necessarily mean they like each other or that outside of a mission, they're necessarily even on the same side of the law. It's a great adventure. It is a ton of fun. Again, much like a lot of products from PEG, you get the one book and you have everything you need to run that adventure. And it comes with a ton of Savage Tales, which are these little plot hooks to give you ideas on how to flesh out side quests and other adventures. Yeah, Mike is doing a great job with that. I am so excited to actually get to play that in person. The Doom Guard board game, that is. So then several years later, we got Necessary Evil Breakout. So if Necessary Evil was kind of your Avengers level characters, Necessary Evil Breakout was a prequel to Plot Point Campaign. Necessary Evil Breakout, the Vasori, was set in the early days of the invasion, right? Necessary Evil, the Vasori are entrenched. Breakout, they're, it's, again, like I said, early days. They've cordoned off New York and turned it into a very Mad Max style island where basically you're trapped inside there. And you are street level heroes. You're not power level 3, you're power level 1. So think of it almost, it reminds me a lot of the, my brain just died, the Batman comic, Broken City, where Gotham gets blown up, the bridges going in and out of Gotham get blown up, and it's isolated for an entire year. Gang warfare is rampant, black market deals and trades, civilization sort of breaks down. And once again, you are contacted by Dr. Destruction to make your escape beyond the strange cordon that keeps New York isolated. And if you can do that, maybe you can be a new Omega Cell. I think it would be awesome to run Necessary Evil Breakout and then jump over into a full Necessary Evil campaign. Hey, Rook, good to see you, sir. And now, PEG has upgraded both of these two campaigns to Suede. They've done a great job taking what's great about the original campaigns and updating the mechanics to the ones that we have now into the superhero companion. Because again, when Necessary Evil came out, I don't believe there was a superhero companion. The rules for making your supers were in the original campaign. And they're doing Necessary Evil 3, Cosmic Confrontation. So if Breakout is sort of the homage to the street level heroes that we love, think Gotham, or Marvel Knights characters, Daredevil, Moon Knight, Punisher, those kind of characters. And Necessary Evil is the homage to sort of the modern age Avengers or Justice Society of America. Again, New 52 version, not the ones set in Earth 2 or the 50s and 60s. Cosmic Confrontation is our Guardians of the Galaxy, our Fourth World characters, if you're familiar with Jack Kirby, the Thor level characters in Marvel's universe. It is the cosmic level characters. And once again, they've done a great job. I've actually got to read it. I'm going to try and give no spoilers. I got to read it because I had to read it for The Return of Dr. Destruction, which tries to tie all three of these plot point campaigns into one little adventure that has some good callbacks, some good look forwards, and still stands on its own. But you are again playing villains, and it's the core of Necessary Evil. There is a massive breakout, and that's basically where I'm going to leave it. I don't want to spoil too much of Cosmic Confrontation because it's a great adventure, and Daryl and the other guys did a great job of threading it back through as well the previous Necessary Evils while expanding on a ton of hints and promises in the first two campaigns to make it a truly cosmic adventure. And they lay out a great cosmology for future adventures set in space in the Necessary Evil universe. There are hints about what's going on if you read through the heroes and villains inside the superhero companion book. Look at things like the Dark Brood, some of the heroes and the villains, and there's a lot of hints about what's going to be the major threat, if you will, in Cosmic Confrontation. I'm excited about it. I love cosmic adventures. I still think the two greatest cosmic writers for comics have been Jack Kirby's Fourth World. Basically anything that he touched with the New Gods is spectacular. I loved Legion of Superheroes, like the Great Darkness Saga. That was a great cosmic adventure. On the Marvel side, I like Jim Starlin. Just throwing out inspirations if you need some for your Cosmic Confrontation. Jim Starlin's work on the Infinity Gauntlet saga, the original, was really great. But honestly, if you have not read Dan Abnett's run, it is massive. He did not write the original Annihilation run, but he picked up with Annihilation Conquest and ran through Annihilation Conquest, Road of Kings. There's one after that, but he's the one who comes up with the new Guardians of the Galaxy, which James Gunn pulled heavily from. He came up with the Cancer Universe for Marvel Comics. His cosmic run is spectacular. And I think this is a little digression, but I've always been more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy. And Thanos and Darkseid always get compared as like really kind of the same character. I mean, they have a similar look, they have a similar outlook, but I think there's a major difference. And because we're on behind the screen, we get to talk about the stuff that pops into my head. So I think the main difference between Darkseid and Thanos come down to the wars that influence the writers. Because Kirby is coming out of World War II, where evil looked like the oppressive tyrant who wanted to rule everything, and if you disagreed with him, anti-life was thrust upon you. And Starlin's dealing with the nihilistic views that came out of the Vietnam War. And he invents a cosmic villain who is literally in love with death and wants to see the end of everything. And I think that's the main difference between Starlin's view of cosmic villainy and Kirby's view of cosmic villainy. Yes, Rook, Darkseid is the superior villain. John Doom, is this where we have our first deviation? No, sir. We should do a whole episode on why DC Comics is clearly the one I enjoy more. Like, if you love Marvel, I have a ton of great love of Marvel. I have a Marvel character tattooed on my back. So, yes, it's also the difference between Heinlein and Halderman. I would agree with that. Yes, the DC animated universe, Ian, was spectacular. I think for me, in general, I read a really great dissection of Marvel versus DC, and they said that essentially the difference can be traced back to the pantheons that are the primary pantheons of each universe. DC's primary pantheon is the Greek pantheon, and the stories that we get from Greece are about larger than life heroes who have a hubris that they have to constantly fight against, or else they fall into tragedy. That's most of the DC characters, and that's when DC works really well, when they're playing with their iconic characters and iconic roles in giant battles that are struggles between. And I think you can plot most DC characters on like two axes, right? Superman is always dealing with power and powerlessness versus human versus alien. And you play in those arenas, but that's really Superman's iconic role. Whereas Marvel's main pantheon is the Norse pantheon, which is filled with a ton of operatic level drama and twilight and angst and moving forward. And that's Marvel's big strength. Marvel's characters work well when we're playing with the drama of Peter Parker trying to handle all of the different things, or Reed Richards wanting to be an explorer and a scientist, but also a father and a husband and a friend to these people that he has. So Mark Waid and Mark Waringo did the best Fantastic Four run in living memory, in my opinion. And the opening comic, Reed is talking to his kids, giving them a bedtime story and telling them the story of Fantastic Four. And no one in the family gets why he wants them to be celebrities and why he wants them to be rich and have all these patents. And it comes down to Reed being like, I just never want them to realize that I robbed them of their lives and turned them into monsters. That's when Marvel works really, really well. Like, all right, John, DC has terrible names, but so does Marvel. Like, I have the comic where the Spot is first introduced, and that's his name, the Spot. He's going to be the main villain in the new Spider-Verse movie, and I'm like, you have the same name as the animated character that is the 7-Up logo. That's and Padre, I prefer Greek over Norse, so that's great. But John Doom, DC has legacy, and that's where I think it shines as well. Marvel, we just keep getting these time jumps. Where was Tony Stark? What war was Tony actually involved in? DC, and again, DC's fallen away from this at times and come back to it. There's a good debate going on here. Right, you have multiple generations of the Flash. You have the Bat family. You had this idea that characters could go away for a time and hand off their legacy. Marvel has never done this well, in my opinion. Clone Saga. So Spot is minimalist and modern. Edward Nygma. Oh man. Yeah. Well, you know, Clone Saga is like Fight Club. All right, we've gone wildly afield from Necessary Evil, but I think this has been a great discussion. So that's where we're at. We'll be back next week with a couple of more Savage Worlds discussions. And I'm looking forward. I'm going to start posting. If you follow us on Twitter and Instagram, I'm going to start posting once a week is my goal. Just about games that I love. No agenda. No, we're not going to run them. We're just going to talk about games that we love. And I think the first one I'm going to do is Hyperborea. So that should be next week. Hopefully we'll get those put together and put out. And yeah, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. I am going to be spending the rest of the day doing some writing and just relaxing. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming, stay in the DC universe, John. And until next time, I will see you all later. Have a good one.